Hi and welcome back. As usual, today we will evaluate the strategies in our portfolio that have performed the best over the last period. One of the coaches at Unger Academy here. Recently, we have seen significant and very volatile movements in the stock market. We'll look together at how our strategies for the Mini SP 500 have performed during these summer weeks. But before we see the results of the strategies, I invite you to leave us a like, subscribe to our channel, and click on the notification bell to stay up to date on our new content. Let's look at the equity line of a strategy we will be analysing today. This trend following strategy bases its entries on the pivot point indicator. It's a strategy that has performed well in recent months. We see a handful of the last couple of trades here, and in this case, the previous two trades were closed in stop loss. If we look a bit closer to see how these trades performed, we can see that the strategy opened the long trade here. The market initially moved in our direction and a sharp reversal triggered the stop loss. In contrast, the trade that occurred on the following day was somewhat different. Here the strategy tried to buy, assuming that the uptrend seen in the first part of the session could continue, but then it didn't, and unfortunately the strategy took a stop loss again. A stop loss of $30. The $30 is the cost that we put in for each trade. And if we go back, we see another trade, which in this case closed at a profit of $395. If we scroll back a little further, we see an excellent entry that in this case closed with a profit of $1,785. This is a strategy that, as I told you, has done very well in the out of sample years, the post-programming years. It was developed more or less in 2018, and you can see that the subsequent years have also been very positive. The average trade of the system is about $80, and as mentioned before, we have already considered the commission costs and the slippage. And we can safely say this strategy has performed very well, even after programming. Certainly much better on the long side than the short side, but we know that with stock indexes, it's always much harder to find good bearish trades than bullish ones. Let's turn to another strategy that also performed well in the last period. It's also a strategy that follows the trend, but in this case, let's say it's a bit more of a classic strategy. It enters the lows of the previous day, and again we see that the last trade was, unfortunately, a stop loss. This time larger than the previous strategy, $1,730. Before that, however, we had seen two excellent close trades with a take profit worth $3,235 each. Again, we took into account commission costs and slippage. Also of note is this short operation that ended on June the 21st, where we saw a return of over $2,000. The report on this strategy differs from the strategies shown above. We can see that the total number of trades doesn't exceed 570 trades, and the average trade in this case is definitely much larger than the previous strategy. The equity line of this system was also positive in the out of sample period. We're talking about an out of sample strategy from 2018, so we could say more or less up to that point. You can see that the equity line has started to rise initially. Then a sharp drawdown associated with the beginning and the end of the pandemic, and then a rally to make up the ground lost by the strategy. Finally, let's look at the strategy based on round numbers. This strategy could also be called trend following, but it also works with mean reverting logic if necessary. In this case, we see that the last trade was closed at break even. The strategy had reached the round 4,500 point mark. The market initially responded to this level by moving above 4,510 points, but then unfortunately continued its way to 4,482 points, and then closed the strategy again at 4,500. Let's take a look at some other trades using this strategy. In this case, we didn't see a break even, but we put a stop at $830. Let's try to find a positive trade. Here it is. Yes, a positive trade of $20 with a short. Another break even associated with July 28. And again, we see a nice trade more or less at the level of, let's say exactly at the level of 4,600 points. It then closed with a gain of $885. Again, this strategy is out of sample since the beginning of 2018. And initially, it also achieved excellent results. This was followed by another unfortunate period, that of the pandemic, and it was able to regain lost ground after the pandemic period. In this case, it's a strategy where many trades are made, so the average trade is also slightly affected. But I remind you that we already see the results net of fees and slippage. So in the mini SP500 market, even $64 already net of fees is absolutely a tradable value. The total number of trades is 1,862, and we can be quite satisfied with the performance of this system, even in the last period. So, if you want to learn more about systematic trading and how to create trading strategies like those shown today, click on the link in the description. From there, you can watch a free presentation by Andrea Unger, get our best-selling book covering only the shipping costs, or even book a free call with a member of our team. If you like the video, be sure to leave us a like, subscribe to our channel, and click on the notification bell to stay updated. See you soon in our next video.